Morrowind, Oblivion and Skyrim are the most well-known games in the Elder Scrolls series. Only truly hardcore players have played the first two games, Arena and Daggerfall, and even less have played the infamous game that is The Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard. This game is renowned for being atrocious. Its graphics, voice acting, plot and world building are of the lowest caliber.
The rules of engagement state quite clearly that a losing party may yield to his opponent on the field of battle.
It makes sense then that this game also has the worst villain in the Elder Scrolls. Emil Rukton is the main antagonist of this game. He's the Imperial Governor of Stros Makai, which is an island off the coast of mainland Hammerfell, inhabited predominantly by Redguards. This game is set in the Second Era, at the same time Tiber Septim was carving out his empire across the continent. Specifically, the game is set just after Tiber Septim conquered Hammerfell, and the plot revolves around an underground resistance movement that wants to strike a more favourable treaty with the Empire. Now, this might sound like an adequate plot, but Emil Rukton is an incredibly bland villain. His character is simple. He's a greedy man with no hidden agenda. All he's interested in is himself. It's hard to get pumped up to fight a villain who's essentially just a normal, gluttonous bloke within the Imperial bureaucracy. Whilst in Morrowind the protagonist faces off against a demigod that seeks to bring about world peace through creating a hive mind, in Redguard you're up against a fat, middle-aged man with no plan. But when you set Emil Rukton within the context of Redguard's bland and predictable plot, things only get worse. The impetus behind the protagonist is the quest to find their sister, and to begin with, that's literally it. It's not like in The Witcher 3 for example, where Geralt is trying to find Ciri, who is important because she has incredible latent powers. No, in Redguard, the protagonist's sister is just a normal woman with no particularly interesting characterization. The plot starts to pick up when you find out that her soul has been taken by Clavicus Vile because of a pact he has with a Slowder necromancer Nagasta, but after this point, the story deteriorates into a simple narrative. The protagonist finds out his sister was a rebel and then decides to take up her cause to honour her memory and to improve the position of the Redguards. And as you expect, the final confrontation with the antagonist, who you actually only meet twice in the game, is bland, not least because there's no catharsis, because it's impossible to feel that antagonised by the boring Emil Rukton. It's essentially a sword fight with no interesting dialogue as well, and the only vaguely interesting twist comes when Emil's bodyguard forces you to drop your sword and surrender by putting a knife to your throat. But even then, this twist is superficial. Rather like the battle for Winterfell in Game of Thrones Season 8, the protagonist is protected by plot armour that's so thick their sword acts of its own accord and stabs both Emil and his bodyguard without the protagonist lifting a finger. Even in Skyrim, which many argue has been simplified in comparison to its predecessors, has a far better antagonist. Alduin is a unique, powerful and epic foe with an agenda to enslave the world. Emil Rukton is a normal, weak, bland person with no evil agenda at all. He might have killed a few native Redguards during his conquest, but he's no more evil than most other Imperial governors, apart from the fact he lets Nagasta do some necromancy on the island. But whilst Emil Rukton's blandness might make Redguard unplayable, this installment in the Elder Scrolls series is still important because it offers lessons to be learned. For instance, it highlights that a good antagonist is one that's not so realistic that they are bland like Emil, rather that an antagonist ought to be unique, powerful and insidious, whilst still having realistic goals and having the quality of believing themselves to be good. So to sum up, I'd say that although the Elder Scrolls Adventures Redguard can be played for free online, it's still not worth downloading unless you want to play something that's so boring it will help you fall asleep. Thank you for watching this video. I'd like to take this opportunity to make a quick announcement, and I'll repeat this in future videos as well. At the beginning of October, I'll be heading to university. For most of this summer, I've uploaded videos multiple times a week, but when I go to university, I'm going to be reverting to weekly videos, unfortunately. Anyway, if you want to see more Elder Scrolls lore and speculation, then please do subscribe to my channel. Thanks again, and I'll see you in the next one.